Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about the desensitization of people watching media and Saltburn. So just to begin, let's start with Saltburn as a film itself. Just as like a quick disclaimer, I'm not going to be going over the entire movie. This is not a movie review channel. This is simply just a commentary channel. And I also will not be overly discussing the explicit scenes. I'm just kind of gonna allude to them, and if you've seen the movie, you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about, and if you haven't, you can search it up. Of course, viewers' discretion. It's a little graphic, so just as a heads up. So just to begin, which is a quick synopsis, Oliver and Felix, who are both attending Oxford University, they eventually become friends and they get very close, and then Oliver ends up visiting Felix at his family's very, very wealthy estate. The movie then kind of follows into kind of like a story about the desperation for class and acceptance from the upper class, the fight like for social acceptance within the middle class, and the desperation for social acceptance, and it's also like a bit of a psychological thriller, I guess you could say. I personally think that the movie was very well filmed. It was beautiful cinematography all around, and I really do think all the actors and actresses did a great job. I think visually it was very appealing. I really liked the storyline. However, I was not the biggest fan of some of those more explicit scenes. I always really been a fan of them, so that was just a personal thing. I feel like some of them were purely done to get people to talk about them. Granted, like hearing all those people talk about the movie, being like, oh my gosh, have you seen it, got me to watch it, so I guess it worked. But it wasn't necessarily my favorite, and it wasn't something that I prefer to watch. But then again, one of my favorite shows is Game of Thrones, and that show has nothing but explicit scenes, so I digress. It's really up to personal preference. But in this video, we are going to be diving a little bit deeper into the people who would argue against me and say that the movie wasn't really that shocking. There were the scenes that were meant to be shocking, the scenes that everybody was talking about really didn't hit as hard for them, and why that type of thinking is just a bit problematic. So the whole basis of people saying that it wasn't shocking is that they've claimed that they've seen worse. They've seen worse on Twitter, they've seen worse on TikTok, they've seen worse on Instagram, and they were well primed for this movie, and everybody else who was super shocked and offended by those scenes was just being overly sensitive to like explicit content. And this is what I will say. Those scenes were meant to be shocking. If you were not shocked, the issue is not with the people who were shocked, it is actually with you, right? You're the oddball in this situation. In a sense, that's on purpose, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Outside of Saltburn, right, we are facing a media kind of flood of shocking content everywhere. There's no shortage of explicit or shocking content no matter what platform you are on, whether it's Netflix, whether it's HBO Max, whether it's Hulu, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. All of these places where we gather our media are also filled with a lot of heavy and explicit content. You can see something I've gotten quite frequently is like car accidents on Instagram, and I'm not even talking about like a little fender bender. I mean full blown, like the car is being flipped, obliterated, the metal is being crushed, and you're kind of just expected to scroll along to these videos like oh well, the accident, keep it going. And the first time I saw it was like, it made me sick to my stomach, and I find myself more and more becoming desensitized to this type of extremely violent video of somebody getting crushed in between scraps of metal. You can also find like super explicit scenes in shows and movies, so very, very violent scenes. Directors and producers are becoming very comfortable showing people getting, I guess I'll just say, deleted for the sake of not getting age restricted. More and more shows are now TVMA and made for mature audiences and not really appropriate for younger audiences. But I'll also say that like once shows get the okay to be TVMA, I do think that they really go out of their way to show very graphic and very violent scenes. I can speak firsthand. Game of Thrones, for example, every single fight scene, every single duel scene, every single 1v1, every single battle scene was extremely graphic. Like there was no shortage of very, very like eye-opening and like nauseating scenes, and they got increasingly more violent as the seasons went on. So just when you thought that you would get used to it, now you're watching like one of your favorite characters get like their head chopped off or something insane and ridiculous. With all of these scenes and media and everything, we're starting to notice younger and younger audiences being exposed to this. So shows that would once only be available for adults, there are, or like even like in the context of social media, there's a very good chance that your younger sibling or my younger sibling could get access to that video of a car getting like demolished and on the road. Now obviously social media is for older audiences, but even being 13, 14 and getting insanely violent and graphic scenes like that on your feed is not really something that most people would want to see or would want their kids to see. So then at such a young age, if you're witnessing like insanely graphic and explicit scenes on, for example, let's say Twitter, which is, I understand is an app for adults, but kids still end up on there, you kind of, by the time you're an adult, you keep on seeing these scenes over and over again, you're going to completely become desensitized to what you're actually watching online. Like your brain is almost going to become numb, and what was once shocking to you, what was once like, oh my gosh, what is that to you, is it gonna be like, man, I've seen that before, I've seen worse. I don't think that this is lending anything positive to anybody's mental health. But even more in relation to Saltburn, I think that the people who were on Twitter since they were like 7 or 8 years old, or people who have been watching graphic and explicit stuff on various websites, I won't say which one, but like various websites and on different shows, are the people who were saying, oh, I've seen worse, when they watched the scenes in Saltburn. And back to my point previous, when you become numb to the point where something that is supposed to be shocking is no longer shocking to you, that is something that you kind of need to reflect within yourself and be like, why is this not shocking to me? Why do I think that this video of this person who was just deleted, why do I think that that's not entertaining enough? Some of these videos, mind you, are not even like fictional. Like for example, Twitter, one of the reasons why I don't have that app is because they will show videos of actual real people, real footage of people getting harassed, assaulted, abused, deleted, very violent and graphic clips, and it's like, I don't want to get desensitized to this. This is not something that I want to get used to seeing. You have soldiers, for example, who have to get therapy for years for seeing this type of content in real life, and then you have teenagers volunteering themselves to watch it online to just look hard or look cool because they can handle this type of like graphic scene. A lot of this talk about like the fact that Saltburn wasn't shocking enough or people were over exaggerating does come from a place of people being underwhelmed by what they saw. So at a certain point, these shocking scenes, because that show was meant to be entertainment as well as art, if you are not entertained enough or shocked enough by that content, at what point is your insatiability gonna be satiated? At what point are you going to be satisfied by what you see? Like, okay, that's enough. So when the bar for that threshold keeps on going higher and higher every single time, what is going to be left for you to see? Do you need to see this live? Do you need to see this happen for real? Outside of the sense of media, right, and just like entertainment purposes, there are some serious real world applications to this. One of the ones that I noticed is during the Black Lives Matter protests, during like when we were in quarantine, like 2020, 2021, I noticed there were a lot of videos of Black people being brutalized by police online, and people were getting so accustomed to seeing these videos that they weren't having the effect that they used to. The way that those videos were normally supposed to affect people was like, oh wow, I can't believe I just watched this happen, this is terrible. But over time, as people began to watch more and more of these videos, it started to become common practice for this to happen, and people didn't feel as empathetic or compassionate about what they were seeing because they were eventually experiencing empathy fatigue. And at a certain point, if you keep on seeing videos of people getting whatever by whoever online, it's not gonna be as like hard hitting and punching for you as it used to be. However you might feel, right, you watching this video of two grown men, right, fighting for their lives, it should hit something in your head and be like, what exactly am I watching? What is going on in this video? You shouldn't be desensitized to that. No matter what side you stand on, you should not be desensitized to that content. It should be disturbing. Nobody should be used to watching that type of thing. But as more and more videos were coming out of things like this happening in real life, I'm not even talking about Game of Thrones. I'm not talking about shows like Snowfall or Power that have very like violent and graphic scenes. I mean literal videos of real life people, of them fighting for their lives. This should not be content that you are not shocked or disgusted or like disturbed by. Same thing of like videos of like stuff when they were beheading people. It used to almost be a competition for people to not be shocked or like disturbed by those scenes. What about this video is not disturbing you? What about this video is not like getting you worried or scared or anxious? How can you not feel some type of negative emotion about this extremely disturbing video? So that's what I'm saying of like, where are we coming to as a people when content like this doesn't impact you anymore? It doesn't affect you anymore. You don't care. It's not, you're underwhelmed. So the last thing that I kind of just want to say is that like, people need to understand the gravity of what they're watching. I understand for things like Saltburn, it is a fictional storyline and these are not real people doing these things in real life. But I don't think that people understand the gravity of the fact that, yeah, okay, it might be true, you were underwhelmed, you were surprised at how sensitive everybody was being, but at what point is it not just like a side eye to you or to yourself of being like, why am I not shocked by this? Why am I underwhelmed by this? How much other things have I seen before where this to me is acceptable and normal? You know, because they put that scene in to shock people. That was meant to get people talking. So the fact that what you're saying is that it wasn't really that big of a deal, when even the directors and the actors themselves have acknowledged like that was pretty, you know, like shocking. It was kind of crazy to watch back. And you don't feel that way? You don't feel that way at all? You don't think that that's a bit of a problem? The more that shock value is equated to entertainment, the more media that we watch is just going to become purely shock value, and there won't really be much effort into putting like interesting and intricate storylines, and it'll just be about like getting people to talk about it, having super duper hard hitting scenes. So that's basically the end of that. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you want to watch Saltburn, I would recommend it if you are up to that type of content. It's a pretty good storyline. I do put like a very big content warning on the movie though. It is weird, so yeah, but it is an interesting story. That's what I'll say. So if you're of age and you want to watch it, but if you don't like those types of scenes, don't watch it. Just don't. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.